What up? What up? What up? What up? What's up with the peoples, man? Welcome to Battle Boy Media, where we are dripping in gems and our bills are on work that matters. What's good with the peoples on this Tuesday afternoon? You see, my brother Crossroads is on deck with me, man. How you,
Thanks, 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 thanks. I'm good, man. Battle Boy me, here in the hills of the block, man.
No doubt, man. You know how we doing, man. We staying the course and pushing the envelope the right way, man. So
Yeah.
today is just a little bit different outside of what it is that what we normally would do, right? Or normally would build on. But it's definitely one of those um convos or bills that's worth having based off of individuals I know, even myself, being that I've been through the system and had to, not had to, but just went with what was considered the norm, in those places, behind
Shout
enemy.
out to, shout out for giving my Brooklyn. Shout out for giving my Brooklyn, too. What's up?
Forgive my Brooklyn, shout it out. What's good, bro? Peace. Shout out to the people's pulling up. Um, so as you can see today, we got the title: Unnatural Circumstances Produced Creative Insanity.
Mm.
Woo! Unnatural circumstances produce creative insanity, right? And then we have a picture of a man look like he's trapped within some type of structure and he's just looking out. You can fill in the blanks of what he may be looking out into, what he's feeling, what's on his mind, etc., etc. But it's definitely going to reflect on why it is, this thumbnail was chosen for this build that we're about to have, right? So the unnatural circumstances, right? Meaning the the system where a lot of the comrades, my comrades, myself, has been for quite a while for the time that we was there, you know, um, and actually, you know, doing things that we wouldn't normally do in regular society, a survival tactic, if you want to call it, um, you know, making ends meet, or just not wanting to get caught up with certain things because there's definitely repercussions behind it, whether you'll end up going to the box, of course, or if you're a part of a culture, a gang, or whatever the case may be, getting caught with certain things, like you could end up being a situation waiting to happen, so we just gonna tap in and identify a lot of those things um that is unnatural, that even myself took on as normal activities for the time being that I was in prison. And thinking back on it now is like, wow, like damn.
Mhm.
It's like I really did that, like I did this, or like the principles um decreases a lot when locked up, I believe. And then the respect level in certain things increase, um, depending on how you choose to bid, or how the bid, did you, or whatever the case may be. So identifying some of those, unnatural circumstances, I think one of those things that, I was going back and forth with my brother, um, and this is just a visual of me actually seeing a black person being tatted around a noose, on an officer's arm, you know, a black face with a rope around his neck on a tatted on an officer's arm, and they actually having their sleeves rolled up for you to actually see it, to give off what it is that they're trying to give off. The fear, the racism, all that good stuff. Like these are things that, a lot of us, saw coming up in the system. And 9 times out of 10, some of us probably got in the system at a young age, especially those that did a lot of time, 25 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, pretty much came in the system as young adults, if not kids, and to witness, things of that nature, it definitely stings and stains the brain, and does something to you psychologically, as well as what comes along with bidding, with the things that we add on to that. Um, Another thing that was unnatural was, if you was a part of, getting caught with, codes, any type of history pertaining to whatever it is that you were part of, you get caught with that, or any officers catch you with that. Like I said, you could be a deal waiting to happen. That's an automatic no. So and when it comes to things like that, getting it off to another homie, or sending it over here, or just making sure that you learn what it is that you need to learn and not get caught with it. Like we, well, I've, not with that per se, but we boof things, razors, drugs, knives, stamps, money, just to get it from point A to point B, or just so things just wouldn't be out there for officers to catch. Of course, we're not supposed to have money in there, whatever. Money is definitely made, in the prison system. A lot of money is being made, and sometimes, people get through the bid the way that they get through the bid. But it's a lot of, again, unnatural things that we tend to do in order to get by, or, do the time. But when I was going back and forth with my brother, he brought up a deeper aspect, a deeper aspect of the unnatural things that we did, and I'm starting to, be able to do like a parallel comparison of the mind frame from years and years and years and years of doing these type of things, as well as being um housed in special housing unit, which is, the box, 23 hours locked down, or whatever the case may be, and doing certain behaviors, and seeing how things is played out based off of how, my brothers are responding to the universe now that we're free, and how much it has affected them. But that one thing that my brother spoke on, I never even really thought to factor that in. So what you mentioned as far as like us, cooking on a metal frame.
Yeah. Thanks. Good bill. So let me, I'll get to that, but if I may, let me remind our audiences that when we say things are a little different today, that doesn't mean to say that we're not consistent.
No doubt.
Because with Battle Boy Media, when we dripping the gems, and our bills, our work that matters, this is part of the work. This is part of the work. So we will be talking about poverty. We will be talking about incarceration. We will be talking about violence, obstacles, trauma, abuse, and low self-esteem.
No
Those are
doubt.
those 7 ills that, Fight for Life has identified, which led to the life we live, led and leads to the life a lot of youth in the communities are leading. Again, poverty, incarceration, violence, obstacles, trauma, abuse, and low self-esteem. So the difference is how we look through the lens, what perspective we see, as opposed to the perspective we're told when it comes to those 7 ills. And Battle Boy Media, we airing the ills of the block. So we're talking to the hood block to the cell block and back. And as this build continues, you guys are going to see. So one of the things we talk about was using bodies as suitcases. The unnatural environment we in was prison. And prison is not one particular location. You could be in society and be just as locked up as those behind the walls somewhere hundreds of miles away.
True enough.
So the unnatural instant circumstance is being caged, being boxed. Whether you in metal bars, and in the thumbnail, it appears to be in a box, but it's you can see through. So it's not necessarily a glass box, but it's a box nonetheless, because the mind can shackle you, right? The mind can shackle you, and that's just to see through at the glass that the individual in the thumbnail. So get back to the topic. When we say human suitcases, that's the creative insanity we're talking about. When people actually inserted razors and money and jewelry, like New York 007s and the like, they were inserted in their rectum. Now this has nothing to do with sexuality.
True.
It's like ASD. We just talk about how they use their bodies as a suitcase, as a mode of transportation for contraband. And contraband is anything that the system say we can't have at any given time. It could be we could possess today, and tomorrow it could be contraband. So what we did was find creative ways to move stuff around, and some of the other things, what happens when we locked up is that we would cook. Like a lot of times when we was in solitary confinement, box SHU, we would find creative ways to cook our food, to make pastries, right? So we would take the headphones apart and take the little disc that's in the thing of headphones and use that as an instrument to scratch the paint off the bed frame. And then we would get supplies from Lord Library, things like that, and we would get our folders and papers and we would burn it, and put it under the frame and cook on top of the bed frame. But the thing is this, and this is, we're born books that we read so much time, or books we didn't want. Whatever we had, we burn it to cause the heat to cook on the bed frame. But the bed now was metal, and metal was treated to keep it from rusting.
Yeah.
So oil was put on the metal, right? So just think of it, the oil that's already in the metal that they use to keep it from rusting is underneath paint that's baked on to fill the frame, right? So we're scratching up this first to expose metal so that the heat can come through and cook the food. So one never thinks that the oil that's already in the metal is coming up in the food that we're eating. And some people who've been in the box for years, they've been eating like that for years.
True.
And then you hear stories of people catching cancer.
True.
You hear stories of people just catching cancer for nowhere. Now, I'm not the doctor in that sense. I don't know if the oil that came up on the metal off the bed we ate on contributed to catching cancer. But you can best believe after years and years and years of eating that stuff, there's some type of
effect on the body.
There's some type of collateral damage.
That's a fact. Can't hear you.
Despicable things. They can do some of the most despicable things I've ever fathomed. And if you got a weak stomach, walk out the room and come down. We never did this, but you have individuals that would take feces and put it in their mouth to get to the rest area to spit it on someone. Now, what type of individual that is, number one, you know, or what would drive someone to put feces in their mouth to go spit it on someone. So we say that's disgusting.
That's insanity at
We
its
say
finest.
it's despicable, but indeed, that's creative, but that's insanity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? You know, in addition to cooking off bed frames, we cooked out of buckets of hot water and plastic bags. We would season our food, put it in regular garbage plastic bags, season it up, tie it off, and put that plastic bag in a bucket of hot water that be bubbling all day. One of the other things I noticed through observation is when we start off with those white bags, they be white. But when we finish, it's clear as a mirror. So where did all the chemicals and stuff that was in the bags go? Into the food.
Right into the food we about to eat.
We didn't think about that.
Not at all.
See, so those are indeed two, you know, we begin to get creatively insane behind those walls. And then you have the banging. You know, some people go to the box and we have what's called therapy. Individuals will bang for 2 or 3 days straight. Now, just imagine your neighbor is someone who wants to give you therapy for no other reason to extort you for your food. They tell you, listen, let me get, yo, get a book to read. Yo, they lay it down. Give me a book to read. Give me a magazine to read. Or I'm gonna give you some therapy. What is therapy? Banging on your wall for the next 3 days straight. And I mean 3 days straight. Just banging, boom, boom, boom.
Hollering, all that. At a high pitched voice.
Just days straight. You know, I've seen that drive people to do insanely creative things as well. And, you know, they would take staples, regular staples, straighten them out, or paper clips, straighten them out and sharpen them. Put little points on it and make blow darts. So when you walk by to go to the shower, they make some primitive.
Yo, that's different. Now that's different.
You know, you gotta watch your eyes and stuff, or you know what I'm saying? Or they'll rub the dart, they'll rub the tip again in some type of concoction they made and blow it at you. You know, that's the creative insanity that takes place. You know,
Definitely.
What else we saw behind those walls? You know, you see the
individuals getting tattoos and what some of us use, you know, for tattoos, whether it's ink from a pen or carbon paper from a typewriter or melting down the checker pieces into making it
cigarette ashes. Like we saw some crazy stuff. What's it all that do to a lot of people these days? I don't know. And a lot of people tattoos look crazy, right?
Definitely, for real.
We don't know if that caused cancer or cause other health issues. The things we did, and we can also liken that to the abuse we saw. You know, there's been studies of people, soldiers that's out, you know, in the world fighting, who saw particular gruesome murders and or extremely violent acts of a period of time, how they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And behind these walls, while we're in our prisons, we see stuff. You know, we see people hang. You know, you might be talking your bunkie today or your cellmate neighbor today, and tomorrow he's swinging on a rope. You dig what I'm saying? We see police beat people to death. See, the system kind of changed. There was one time when they used Attica for instance. You walking down the hallway, they single somebody out, the whole line was stopped. Nobody's moving nowhere until you got back on the line. We went to the block together. But I was there during the transition where they got so bold where they say C block. They get you to the block, tell you to get to the back of the line. Ain't nobody stopped. Everybody gone. You know? And we don't hear about you. We hear screams. When we come back out, we see hair on the floor with blood attached to it. I mean, and you never heard from the person again. They don't know what happened. Right? Or they knock your teeth out, knock your eye out, break your jaw, break arms, and then we kill you. You know, that's the things that's happening. So what was the effect that had on a lot of us that saw this? And we liken that. Let's come to the block now. Remember, when we talk about incarceration, we don't talk about a specific location.
Yeah.
Right? And with BattleBoy Media, we air in the ills of the block.
No
From the
doubt.
cell block to the hood block, right?
No
So
doubt.
what are some of the things we see growing up? You know, look at we see murders. I mean, you know, or well, I didn't see none. I don't remember. I know people passed away, things like that. But hear stories allegedly of people, you know, best friends turn on each other, one being unalive, right? We see the drug use. We see how crack decimated some communities, decimated some families. You know, you still remember Brenda or Barbara or Joanne, one of the beautiful sisters on the block, and then them drugs got a hold of her, and you know she looked like a monster, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Our
yeah.
sister. We saw that. We see Miss Mary, decimated by the drugs. A mother that, you know, loved on us, you know, support us, there for us growing up, and we see her, we might walk in the building and see her turn the trick in the hallway. What is the mental effect of that? And then you wonder why a lot of youth lose respect for their queens, right?
Facts, true.
You know, the things we saw, the things we showed. Look at pain medications. People abusing medication used for pain, whether it's oxycodone, whether it's cough medicine, you know. These are medications. Why do they need it? What are they trying to numb themselves from?
Yep. Perks.
Are they trying to numb themselves? You know, are they trying to numb themselves from the pain of life, from the pain of living? Are they trying to numb themselves from the pain of just existing? What is it?
Yeah.
That's creating insanity as well. You know, there was a stigma we attached to talking to psychologists, and that's another topic we'll be getting to. We're getting around to it. We have to destigmatize the mental health crisis that a lot of youth are facing. We have to destigmatize the mental health crisis a lot of adults are facing. A lot of us have untreated diagnoses.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? But some of them wasn't diagnosed, or we experiencing the same things that is known to have an effect on the way we perceive things, on the way we move and operate. It's a result from the trauma we face.
Indeed.
You see what's going on these social media platforms. If that's not creative insanity, I don't know what it is.
And yo, it's funny. It's funny that you just mentioned that, man, because I was just about to say the same thing. Like, you know, it's real hard to see, you know, brothers that's on like other platforms try to have a dialogue with one another, and it turns into a situation as if you in shoot 200, where everybody's just screaming or at each other. Like there's no structure or no respect in the bill to the point of letting, you know, one brother get his thought out and try to come to a resolution, whereas it's just a tear down method, or even trying to correct a brother in a sense, and that gets taken in offense, and it's like, and again, I just automatically look at it from the standpoint of what it is that we just finished speaking on. All those examples that we gave of the unnatural things that was done under those circumstances that we was in, you know, being a gate monster in the box, slinging feces on one another, spitting feces out on police or one another, or, you know, boofing this, boofing that, or, you know, just the constant traumas that take place in prisons that we think that you know we're over by dressing it up in, you know, clicks and pics and being brolic or whatever, and then come home and then you know, people that's been in society is looking at us like, you know, like, what's wrong with this dude? Like, this dude bugged out, you know. But the more that you start to see this stuff being displayed on certain platforms from brothers that's been locked up for quite a while, like, you could definitely see the psychological effects that um the prison sentence took on them, especially those that did a lot of SHU time.
You made me remind me of something. If I may interject just for a moment, I'll bring you back. At one time, the feces was just thrown on the police, just thrown on officers. But when they criminalized that, made it a felony, they stopped throwing on each other, spitting on each other, because it became an offense. The same thing like razors. Before, until they criminalized it, you know, giving you, you know, new bids for that. You know, people got creative, right? How they transport the move stuff, right? But as you said, man, there's underlying mental illnesses that we're suffering from, that we need to be helped with, that we
No
need to
doubt.
talk about, that we need to flesh out, that we need to air out.
No doubt. No doubt.
And all the gay banging on the platform, we call it gay banging, but it's a comfortability level. You know, the one who yells the loudest, the one who was the funniest, the one that did something creatively insane, those were the winners. That was who won. That was who was right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if I say something, you don't laugh, and you just see me did something that's crazy, you don't want to experience that.
Yeah.
You know, you got extorted for your sandwich, your cookie. You know what I'm saying? You give them all the magazine. Yeah, you keep that, man. I'm good. You know, it's things that happen, you know?
That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a
So
fact.
what are the next steps? What do we do? We identify these things. We identify some of these circumstances. So what the area that we want to move towards, and deal with this particular ill in particular, is that we have to destigmatize mental health. We have to see our youth out there and talk to them and speak to them.
No doubt.
Give them the avenue to express what they're holding inside. Give them the avenue to express what they're feeling. You know? And the more they talk about it, the more we normalize the ability to talk about those things, it's more easy it is to flush out.
No doubt. To detach that, to make that detach from the body and the mind, and not and not grow with it, because you know we could definitely see the harms and the effects of actually growing with it and speaking it in everyday language as if it's normal, even though you know it's comical to some, it's sad to others, those that been through it and can actually see it. It's sad, and I'm not saying I'm 110% healed from the process of me being inside a prison or whatever the case may be. I have my issues as well too. So this is things that's being said not only for my comrades or dudes that I consider my brothers, you know, myself as well. Like, I'm definitely taken from the build as well, and you know, trying to detach, as Cross just finished saying, as far as like for the youth that's growing up that have more years behind them, God willing, than I do. To not grow with it and to detach certain behaviors, certain ways of thinking, to not grow old, to turn you into a bug out or weirdo, you know? Yeah.
And that's what we called them. That's what we called them. But were they bugging out? Or were they just being creative in this insanity that were produced by the situation of circumstance we experienced? You know, whether it was on the block in the hood or on the cell block, we saw these things. We constantly exposed these things. And then the prison, like I said, is not a particular location. You got some juveniles right now stuck in front of TVs, and we have statistics that said 5 hours or 6 hours. Two can confirm that. If you looking at TV, cartoons, or whatever on a daily basis for a 5 or 6 hour stretch, you was exposed to hundreds and hundreds of acts of violence. What? And then you wonder why the 5-year-old boy suplexed his 3-year-old sister and broke her neck or something.
Yeah,
Constantly being exposed. So for him, that idiot box, that's what we called it, is his or her prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No doubt.
So we're in a state where we need healing. You know, we need to discuss these things. We need to continue to build and talk about the work that matters. You know,
No
we're gonna
doubt.
continue to air the ears of the block.
No doubt.
And
No
with that,
doubt.
I'm gonna pass it back off. And it's just about that time.
All right, cool. No problem. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for pulling up for the bill, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So in to conclude, right? You know, all the unnatural things that we did while, you know, doing prison time. You know, if you was in on a build, it was quite a lot, you know, boofing razors, boofing picks, boofing drugs, boofing codes, boofing flags, boofing other people, boofed whatever else, like, you know, just doing the unnatural things, and the psychological effects that it has on us from doing things for a period of time and we not being conscious of the effects that it may take on the body, psychologically, or even from the way we chose to cooking on, you know, metal mattresses, and trying to chip away the paint, thinking that, you know, we're doing some form of cleansing by not, whatever the case, or trying to eat healthier in a sense by cooking on the metal frame. Like, these are all things that help us to fall into the space of the mental illness, as well as, you know, being confined, you know, for periods of times, months, years and years and years, you know. It definitely plays on your mind. As much as we build a defense to not be broken down, physically or mentally, so you know, sometimes we're broken spiritually, um, and sometimes even mentally. It all shows in how it is you communicate with another brother, um, and others, not even people that you necessarily know. Um, it's a ill that, again, like Crossroads finished saying, like, we need to address, confront, and strip away in order to have another way of thinking, and to also not give off to the younger generation as if that's the way to be, because it's being shown in one light, and they may be looking at it laughing, joking, poking, but, you know, it's much more deeper than what's actually on the surface. It's a lot of hurt, it's a lot of pain, it's a lot of suffering, it's a lot of, you know, identity crisis, and it's a long-term psychological effect that weighs in on a lot of us, man. And again, I want to apologize for, you know, me saying a bug out or a weirdo. I think that's just me letting my emotions get the best of me. Um, so that definitely was a, you know, wrong way of expressing, you know, condition of those and us, myself as well, to try to describe, you know, an individual based off of going through those circumstances, those unnatural circumstances. So again, man, we have to do the self work again. Everything is always going to lead back to that self work that I speak on every so often, every time we come up here, whatever the case may be. Can't leave the work in the hands of others to do. Um, just like, we continue to feed the illness by continuing on those same ways of doing certain things, maybe not everything in its totality from prison or whatever, but how we communicate with each other, definitely. Um, what we hold on to as a trophy that really means nothing except in a savage life. you know? Yeah, we gotta pick a side, man. And I will hope that everybody will choose themselves as opposed to person or ignorant part of themselves at a time, you know? With that being said, shout to everybody that's, been pulling up, shout to those that's engaging in the comments. Do share the live. Um, here at Battle Boy Media, man, where we dripping in gems, man, and our bills, it's all our work that matters, man. Y'all stay woke or wake up, man. Tap in with me again. Y'all have a good one. Off this.